Welcome to English Moments.
Hey everyone, I am Genesis.
And I am Issac. Welcome to English Moments, Episode 7.
Imagine this. Your friend says, I think this restaurant is amazing. And honestly, you think it is just okay. Maybe even a little overrated.
What do you say? Do you just nod and say, yeah, totally, even though you don't mean it? Or do you stay completely silent because disagreeing feels too risky?
And here's the flip side of that same problem. What if you do agree completely, but the only words you can find are yeah or me too? After a while, even agreement starts to feel flat and repetitive.
So today, we are fixing both sides of this. How to disagree without sounding rude, and how to agree without sounding like you are just repeating the same 3 words over and over.
By the end of this episode, you'll have a whole toolbox of natural phrases for agreeing, disagreeing, and everything in between. Let's get into it.
Okay, so Genesis, I want to start with something. Are you someone who agrees easily with people, or are you someone who pushes back a lot?
Oh, that is such a good question. Honestly, it depends on the topic. If it's something small, like where to eat, I will agree with almost anything. I genuinely do not care that much.
Same, actually. Like if someone says, let's get pizza, I'm not gonna fight that.
Right? Nobody is dying on that hill.
But if it's something I actually have an opinion about, like a movie or how something should be done at work, that's when I will push back. Politely, but I will say something.
Same here. And honestly, I think this is true for most people. We all have topics where we're easygoing and topics where we suddenly become very passionate.
Okay, here's a funny one. Do you remember that time we were talking about pineapple on pizza?
Oh my gosh, yes. That was such a heated debate for something so small.
It really was. You were so firmly against it, and I remember trying to find a way to disagree without it turning into an actual argument.
And what did you say? Do you remember?
I think I said something like, I see where you're coming from, but honestly, I have to disagree on this one. I love pineapple on pizza.
And I said, okay, that is just wrong, but I respect your right to be wrong.
Which honestly is such a perfect example of disagreeing in a fun, friendly way. Nobody got upset, we just had different opinions and said so.
And that is exactly the skill we want to give you today, because disagreeing does not have to feel scary or rude. It can actually bring conversations to life.
Right. A conversation where everyone agrees on everything all the time is honestly a little boring.
Totally. Some of the best conversations happen when people see things differently and they know how to talk about it respectfully.
You know, I think a lot of English learners actually avoid disagreeing altogether. Not because they don't have opinions, but because they're scared of saying the wrong thing or sounding too direct or accidentally being rude.
Absolutely. And the irony is, staying quiet all the time can actually come across as a little distant, like you don't have opinions at all, which is almost never true.
So today, we are giving you the tools to actually participate in conversations fully, with your real opinions, said in a way that feels warm and natural.
So here is how today is going to work. First, we are going to talk about how to agree with someone in different ways depending on how strongly you feel.
Then, how to disagree, but do it in a way that keeps the conversation friendly and respectful. This is really the heart of today's episode.
We will also cover the middle ground, phrases for when you partly agree or you are not sure yet, because real opinions are often messy like that.
And finally, we'll do some real example conversations so you can hear all of this in action back to back.
By the end, you will never have to just say yes or no again. You will have so many natural ways to express what you actually think, and you will sound like yourself while doing it.
Okay, let's start with agreeing, because even agreeing has different levels, right? Sometimes you agree a little, sometimes you agree completely. Sometimes you agree so much you want to add to what the person said.
Right, so let's start with simple agreement. The most basic ones everyone knows are yeah and I agree. Both are fine, nothing wrong with them. But if you only use those two, your English can start to feel a little flat.
So here are some upgrades. Exactly. This is great when someone says something and you feel like, yes, that is exactly what I was thinking too.
Or, that is so true. Very natural, very common. You hear this constantly in everyday conversation, between friends, coworkers, family, everyone.
Another one, I was just thinking the same thing. This one is great because it shows a real connection, like your brains were on the same page at the same moment.
Now, for stronger agreement, when you really, really agree, you can say things like absolutely, or 100%, or couldn't agree more.
Couldn't agree more is one of my favorites. It sounds confident and natural at the same time. It's the kind of phrase that makes you sound like you've been speaking English your whole life.
Let's do a quick example. Isaac, say something and I will agree in a few different ways.
Okay, I think mornings are so much better when you do not look at your phone right away.
Oh, couldn't agree more. Honestly, the moment I check my phone first thing, my whole morning feels rushed.
Right? Exactly. It's like the day starts before you're even ready for it.
Notice, I didn't just say yes, I agreed, and then I added my own thought. That's what makes agreement feel natural. You're not just confirming, you're contributing something to the conversation.
And one more level, when you agree, but you want to add something slightly different or extra, like yeah and also, or totally plus.
For example, yeah, mornings are definitely better without the phone. And also, I think it helps to drink water first thing too.
See how that works? You're agreeing, but also building on the idea. This keeps the conversation moving forward instead of just stopping after one word.
One more thing before we move on. Sometimes you agree, but you also want to share a related experience of your own. You can say, that reminds me, or funny you say that because...
Like, funny you say that because I just started doing that last week and it has made such a difference.
These little additions turn a simple agreement into an actual conversation. The other person feels like you're really engaged, not just being polite.
Okay, now for the part everyone is a little nervous about, disagreeing.
And here's the thing. A lot of English learners only know I disagree or no, that is wrong. And both of those can sound really harsh in everyday conversation, even if that is not how you mean it at all.
So today, we are giving you a whole range of softer, more natural ways to disagree, from very gentle all the way to confidently standing your ground.
Let's start with the gentlest level. When you disagree just a little or you are not totally sure, you can say, I am not so sure about that, or I see what you mean, but...
I see what you mean, but is so useful. It shows you are listening and respecting their opinion before you share a different view. It softens everything that comes after it.
Another gentle one, that is a good point, but I think this one works really well at work, with friends, basically anywhere. It acknowledges their point first.
Let's try an example. Genesis, say something and I will disagree gently.
Okay, I think working from home is way more productive than working in an office.
I see what you mean, but for me, it's actually the opposite. I get distracted so easily at home. There's always something else to do.
That felt really natural, not aggressive at all. It almost felt like you were just sharing your own experience.
Exactly, and that's a key idea. A lot of the time, disagreeing is not really about saying you are wrong. It's about saying, for me, it's different.
That is such a good point, actually. For me, it's different. That small shift changes everything. It makes the disagreement feel personal, not confrontational.
Now, what if you disagree a bit more strongly? You might say, actually, I think it's the other way around. Or, I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one. Or, I see it differently.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one sounds confident, but still polite. It's honest without being rude. There's even a little bit of humor in how it's phrased, like you are reluctantly disagreeing.
Let's try a stronger example. This time, Genesis, you push back more.
Okay, I think social media has made communication so much better.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one. I actually think it's made a lot of communication feel less personal.
That is interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way.
And notice, even with stronger disagreement, nobody got offended because the tone stayed calm and the words were respectful. The disagreement was about the idea, not about the person.
Now here's something really important. Sometimes you need to disagree, but you also want to acknowledge that the other person has a point. This is called a soft disagreement, or sometimes people call it the agree but technique.
It works like this. First, you agree with part of what they said. Then you add your different opinion. For example, you're right that it is more convenient, but I still think it's not as effective.
This technique is amazing because it makes the other person feel heard, even while you are disagreeing. It's one of the most powerful communication tools, honestly, not just in English, in any language.
One more useful phrase for this. That is true, however, or fair point, but from my experience.
Let's do one more example using this technique. I'll make a statement and Isaac, you do the agree but thing. Okay, I think it's better to make decisions quickly instead of overthinking everything.
That is true. Quick decisions can save a lot of time. However, I think for big decisions, taking a little extra time can really pay off.
See how that felt? Like a real conversation, not an argument.
And one final tip on this, your tone of voice matters just as much as the words. You can say, I see it differently in a calm, friendly tone or in a sharp, defensive tone. Same words, completely different feeling.
So as you practice these phrases, try saying them out loud with a warm, curious tone, like you are genuinely interested in the conversation, not trying to win an argument.
Now, let's talk about the in-between zone. What if you are not sure, or you agree with part of something but not all of it?
This happens so often in real conversations, and there are great phrases for this too. Phrases that show you are genuinely thinking, not just avoiding the question.
I am kind of on the fence about that. This means you haven't fully decided how you feel. It is honest, and it invites more conversation.
Or, I can see both sides. This is great when you genuinely understand both points of view, and you do not want to fully pick one.
It depends is another really useful one. Like, do you think remote work is better? Honestly, it depends. For some jobs, yes. For others, not really.
And one more, I am torn. This means you feel pulled in two directions. Like, I am torn because I love the convenience, but I also miss seeing my coworkers.
These phrases are so useful because real opinions are often complicated. Not everything is a clear yes or no, and English gives you so many ways to express that complexity.
Let's do a quick example. Isaac, ask me something and I will respond from this in-between zone.
Genesis, do you think it is better to travel alone or with friends?
Honestly, I can see both sides. Traveling alone gives you so much freedom, but traveling with friends makes the memories feel more special. I am kind of torn depending on the trip.
That sounds so real, like an actual answer a real person would give, not a textbook answer.
Exactly, and that's the goal, sounding like a real person with real, sometimes complicated opinions. Nobody thinks in simple yes or no answers all the time.
One more useful phrase here. I used to think one way, but now I'm not so sure. This is great for showing that your opinion has changed or is changing.
Like, I used to think social media was mostly positive, but now I'm not so sure. I think it depends a lot on how you use it.
That kind of honesty, admitting your opinion is not fixed, actually makes conversations feel deeper and more genuine.
Okay, now let's put everything together. We are going to do one longer conversation using a mix of agreement, disagreement, and the in-between phrases, back to back, just like a real conversation would flow.
Let's talk about something everyone has an opinion on. Should phones be allowed during dinner?
All right, Issac, what do you think?
Honestly, I think phones should be away during dinner. It just feels more personal when everyone is actually present.
I see what you mean, and I agree to some extent. But I also think it depends on the situation. Like, if it is a quick check because you're waiting for something important, that feels okay to me.
That is a fair point. I hadn't thought about that. I guess for me, it's more about the habit of constantly checking, not just one quick look.
Yeah, that makes sense. Constant checking definitely feels different from one quick glance.
Right, so maybe we actually agree more than I first thought.
I think we do. Although, I still think pineapple on pizza is great, and I know you disagree with that one.
Some things, Genesis, we will just have to agree to disagree on.
And there it is, agree to disagree, one of the most useful phrases in the English language. It means both people respect that they see things differently, and that is okay. The conversation does not need to end in a winner and a loser.
Did you notice how natural that whole conversation felt? Nobody said, I disagree in a harsh way. Nobody just said yes without adding anything. It felt like two real people talking with real back and forth.
And honestly, that back and forth is what makes a conversation memorable. If we had just said yes and okay the whole time, you probably wouldn't even remember what we talked about 5 minutes later.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's talk about a few common mistakes.
Mistake number 1, only using I agree or I disagree every single time. These are correct, but if you use them constantly, your English can sound a little flat and repetitive, almost like you were filling out a survey.
Try mixing in some of the phrases we talked about today. That is so true. I see what you mean, but I'm kind of torn. Even just rotating between 3 or 4 phrases makes a huge difference.
Mistake number 2, disagreeing too directly, especially with people you do not know well. Saying, no, you are wrong, can feel harsh, even if that is not how you meant it.
Soften it with phrases like, I see it a bit differently, or I'm not totally sure about that. Same meaning, completely different feeling for the other person.
And mistake number 3, staying completely silent when you disagree, just to avoid any conflict. While it might feel safer in the moment, it actually stops the conversation from being real. And real conversations are how you build real connections and improve your English at the same time.
So next time you disagree with something, try saying it, politely, using one of the phrases from today. It's good practice, and it makes conversation so much more interesting for everyone involved.
And one bonus tip, if you're ever unsure how strong a phrase sounds, start gentler than you think you need to. I see it a little differently is almost always a safe starting point in any situation.
Okay, let's do a quick review of everything we covered today.
For agreeing, exactly, that is so true. I was just thinking the same thing, couldn't agree more, and funny you say that because...
For gentle disagreement, I see what you mean, but I'm not so sure about that. That's a good point, but I think...
For stronger disagreement, I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one. Actually, I think it's the other way around, and the agree but technique.
For the in-between zone, I can see both sides. It depends. I'm kind of torn. I'm on the fence, and I used to think one way, but now I'm not so sure.
And of course, agree to disagree for those topics where you just see things differently, and that is completely okay.
Now, here's your challenge. Think of a topic where you have a strong opinion. Something simple, like a food, a movie, or a daily habit. And in the comments, write a sentence agreeing with someone and another sentence disagreeing, using phrases from today.
For example, I completely agree that coffee is the best part of the morning. And then, I see it differently. I think tea is actually better. Something like that.
We really want to read your opinions, even the controversial ones, especially the controversial ones.
Especially the pineapple on pizza ones.
All right, everyone, that is episode 7 of English Moments.
And honestly, this is one of those topics that affects every single conversation you will ever have in English, whether you are talking about work, movies, food, or just everyday life. Agreeing and disagreeing naturally is such a core skill.
So if this episode helped you today, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone learning English, and subscribe to English Moments so you do not miss what is next.
Smiles. New episodes every week. Real English, real conversations, real progress.
We will see you in episode 8.
Until then, go practice having a friendly little disagreement with someone, maybe about pineapple on pizza.
Or maybe just leave it for the comments.
Probably safer. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.